My name is Robert Howard, and this is my presentation for my personal OD library entitled Building a Sustainable Future. So, the purpose of this library is to provide quick access to resources, to have an organized portfolio, and to be able to assist and recommend resources to others in OD and C. My library is two parts: it's digital and physical. The digital takes the realm of Google Drive and Evernote, which allows me to easily search and maintain my digital files, articles, and presentations, while the physical library is organized in a shelving unit, which allows me to better organize my physical books and periodicals, organized by subject, starting from the most broad to the more specific. My life purpose and my dream job is truly about sustainability. My personal life purpose is to make sustainability more accessible, to make sustainability a need and not a luxury. Professionally, this purpose manifests itself as starting the conversation about sustainability in fashion and being able to inspire others to continue the conversation, to seek new ways to continually innovate and change. My dream job in the next 5 years is to be a store director for a global flagship, ideally with Moncler. Moncler is a global luxury Italian brand which has seen tremendous growth in the last 8 years and is continuing on a trend of growth as it continues its expansion into new and emerging markets. As a store director for a global flagship, I would have direct insight into how these emerging markets are growing and be able to shape and grow these new regions. It's connected to my purpose because it's a necessary stepping stone into getting me further within the organization and ideally get into that role of a director of sustainability. It enables me to pilot new projects around sustainability at the store level and then to create the best practices that will then be shared with the retail network within the Americas or other global regions. My emerging personal OD library really started from reviewing the Change Handbook and identifying my mind map. From these two tools, I determined the desired outcomes of my change method. I then found the behavioral antecedents that were linked to these outcomes, the observable behaviors. I then created an action plan to support these behaviors, consulted the literature to ensure that what I was doing was new, and to also draw from any existing foundations. And then lastly, to rehearse my method and really to refine it. This is all moderated by feedback on all 6 of these steps. My emerging personal OD method, entitled the Sustainable Action Model, can be applied to industries, production, or retail, and can be used when designing and piloting or implementing new projects that require natural resources. This can be expanded further to help communities and groups that exist outside of that industry and professional realms, or anyone interested in implementing more sustainable changes. This process can be used alone or in tandem with other methods as a blended model. The purpose of this method is to address sustainability issues in the context of change management and to really involve the community. This can be established or new organizations of any size, or new organizations looking to stave off these problems before they become too large. This model introduces sustainability as a daily practice and not a one-time event. Results can be expected include increased participation on the individual level to commit to sustainable solutions, to gain larger community involvement and support for sustainability efforts, and to enable individuals to practice sustainability in their daily lives. Lastly, to build trust and communication within a community. The process of the Sustainable Action Model follows very similar to the Action Learning Model, in that it takes 5 steps plus communities of practice to support follow-through. The first step is to come together as a large group to identify the situation around sustainability. It could be one of the 6 that was mentioned on the previous slide. It could be a combination of any of those six, it could be a single one, or it could be none of those. This situation is the current area for improvement, crisis, or a pain point. Next, they identify the frame. So identify the system, internal and external stakeholders whose input is required, and the larger community. Next is to explore, to see what solutions can be used to solve this problem. To then reframe to see if the solution can be challenged, if it is too much in the norm, or if it is something new and innovative. Lastly, they take action. So take that first step towards change, and to then ask for feedback on how that action was followed through, and then to repeat, to then look at the situation again from a new lens and continue this process and cycle. The next step is to break into smaller rotating communities of practice. This also draws from the World Cafe model, in that these communities of practice rotate on a pretty frequent basis, roughly every 3 weeks or so, with one member being anchored. This anchor is a leader in the community, either an internal or external stakeholder. Having this anchor allows the other community members to receive continual feedback on what the larger group is thinking, and to continually change, challenge, and move forward. These groups will discuss the topic at length, providing input on what can be changed, and each step of the action model, whether it be the situation, frame, explore, reframe, or action step. This process takes anywhere from at least 6 months up to 3 years. To support this sustainable action model, there's background, research, and examples. My personal background in sustainability, my interest in sustainability, provides the backbone for this model. I participated in several sustainability initiatives throughout college and my professional career, and have a long family history rooted in sustainability as well. I also bring with me my knowledge of OD methods and access to a community of practice that allows me really to tap into the community and get involved and to ask more questions. Research-wise, this is really rooted in the action learning model, which was founded by Reginald Revens, that looks at the equation learning equals programming plus questioning. This equation can be expanded to include self-reflection as well, and to use more of a metacognitive approach. The action learning model has been widely used in business, government, and education, and is often used to support continued learning outside of the organization. There are several examples of the action learning model being used in businesses. One is the LA County of Public Health, which formed a action learning collaborative in 2008 to eliminate racial inequalities contributing to infant mortality. When the groups first came together, they identified that African American mothers were strongly discriminated against and had the highest rates of infant mortality. To combat this, they provided training to over 100 healthcare providers and developed a health brief focus on infant mortality. So what are the simple rules that guide the application of the sustainable action model? First is to learn as you go. Develop stronger peer relationships and to surface assumptions. When I was speaking with Marcia Hyatt, who is a OD practitioner specializing in the action learning model, she provided 2 insights. First is that learning informs action and action informs learning, and to listen well and to ask questions that promote thinking. So as we look at this model here of the iceberg, that we have to surface those assumptions on the bottom, and we do that by asking questions and continually learning from our actions, and to promote deeper thought and deeper insight. Tying the action or the sustainable action model back to my portfolio, I started with my career at Montclair back in 2016 as a senior client advisor, when in 2018 I was promoted to a manager and training position, one of only 5 in the Montclair company as a total, and the only one in the Americas region. Moving forward, I would like to grow into a store director role and oversee the daily operations of a luxury flagship location. And then moving forward still to become a director of sustainability, ideally for Montclair or another large luxury group. As a store director, The job description would have about 5 key areas of insight. First is to drive sales and profitability. Next is customer engagement. Third is merchandise presentations. Fourth is to manage the store inventory. And fifth is the recruitment, training, and retention of top talent. In my current development and from my previous experience, I am confident in 4 of these 5 job description requirements. In order to close the gap and to feel comfortable in all 5 realms, I first need to complete the EMOD program. With 13 months remaining, I will continue to focus on utilizing OD&C for small-scale initiatives in my current role, to network within the EMOD community, and to outreach to the OD network as a whole. This will allow me to gain insight and to gain more of that tacit knowledge about how to apply OD methods on the job. Next is to complete the MIT program with Montclair. Similar to the EMOD program, there are 13 months remaining. I will continue to develop and refine my coaching leadership skills, network within the Americas region, and network across the global Montclair regions. Lastly, because the MIT program does require global mobility, I will identify the preferred work relocation zone, and then determine any additional skills or qualifications gap that I may need in order to move into that role, and then to start building skills for my next dream job. My research toolkit and evidence library, I will organize this by adding it to my additional OD library if relevant, then again organize by relevance to the dream job, whether it's more focused on the store director role, more applicable the next 2 years, or more far-fetched for the sustainability director role. Then again, is it related to theory or practice? How applicable is it? Is it something that I can show my work for that I have done, or is it something that I can show that I have knowledge of? Technology will play a role because of electronic databases like PsychStore and Info, JSTOR and PsycInfo, providing direct access to the latest research, Google alerts, as well as industry periodicals and references that provide deeper insight into how sustainability is being used in my field exactly. I would like to close with a note from Stella McCartney, who is a pioneer in the sustainable luxury realm. And she says that everyone can do simple things to make a difference, and every little bit really does count.